London, England, May 24th, 1725. The streets are packed. Thousands of people are pushing forward, climbing rooftops, hanging from windows, desperate for a glimpse of one man. Not a king, not a war hero, not a famous actor, a criminal. As the cart rolls slowly toward the gallows at Tyburn, the crowd erupts into cheers. The man lying inside barely moves. His name is Jonathan Wild. For years, London had celebrated him as the city's greatest crime fighter. Newspapers praised him, government officials consulted him, victims begged for his help. If something was stolen, Jonathan Wild could find it. If a thief was on the loose, Jonathan Wild could catch them. At least, that's what people believed. What they didn't know was that many of the crimes he solved were crimes he had secretly organized himself. The stolen goods he recovered had often been stolen by thieves working for him. The criminals he handed over to the authorities were often his own associates. For more than a decade, Jonathan Wild controlled London's criminal underworld while presenting himself as its protector. He built an empire on lies, an empire that made him rich, powerful, and feared. But in the end, the man who sent dozens of criminals to the gallows would face the same fate himself. This is the unbelievable true story of Jonathan Wild, the man known as the Thief-Taker General, and how one of history's greatest frauds finally came crashing down. Before we begin, let us know where you're watching from. And if you enjoy true crime documentaries that uncover forgotten stories from history, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a case. Now, let's go back to the beginning. Jonathan Wild was born around 1682 or 1683 in Wolverhampton, England. He was the oldest of 5 children in a poor family. His father worked as a carpenter. His mother sold fruit and herbs in the local market. Nothing about his childhood suggested he would one day become one of the most notorious criminals in British history. By most accounts, he received a basic education and later trained as a buckle maker. He married, had a son, and appeared to be living an ordinary life. But ordinary wasn't enough for Jonathan Wild. In 1704, he moved to London seeking opportunity. London was enormous compared to Wolverhampton. It was crowded, noisy, and filled with opportunity. It was also filled with crime. The city had become one of the largest urban centers in Europe. Wealth and poverty existed side by side. And where there was wealth, there were thieves. Wild struggled to establish himself. He found employment for a time, but eventually lost his position. His fortunes continued to decline. Then came the event that changed everything. In 1710, Jonathan Wild was arrested for debt and sent to prison. For many people, prison would have been the end. For Wild, it became the beginning. The prisons of early 18th century London were notoriously corrupt. Money could buy privileges, connections could buy freedom, and criminals from every corner of the city crossed paths behind bars. Wild adapted quickly. He became useful to prison officials. He earned trust. He made friends. Most importantly, he made contacts. While imprisoned, he met a woman named Mary Milliner. She was involved in London's criminal underworld and introduced him to thieves, prostitutes, fences, and gang members. For Jonathan Wild, it was like discovering an entirely new world, a world filled with risk, but also profit. By the time he was released in 1712, he possessed something far more valuable than money. He possessed knowledge. He understood how criminals operated, who they were, where they lived, and how they made their money. Most people saw crime as chaos. Jonathan Wild saw it as a business. To understand Wild's rise, you have to understand London. Crime was increasing rapidly. There was no modern police force, no detectives, no fingerprint analysis, no surveillance cameras. Victims often had little chance of recovering stolen property. People were desperate. and desperate people are often willing to trust anyone who promises solutions. This created an opportunity. At the time, private individuals known as thief-takers could earn rewards for recovering stolen property or helping authorities capture criminals. Wilde realized something few others had. Why choose between being a criminal and catching criminals, when you could do both? Around 1713, Jonathan Wilde began constructing a criminal network unlike anything London had seen before. His system was brilliantly simple. He recruited thieves. Those thieves stole valuable goods. The stolen items disappeared. Victims panicked. Then Jonathan Wilde appeared with a solution. He would recover the stolen property for a fee. The victims believed they were dealing with a hero. What they didn't know was that Wilde had often arranged the theft himself. The scheme generated money from both sides. The thieves made money from the theft. Wilde made money from recovering the goods. And if any thief refused to cooperate, Wilde simply turned them over to the authorities. It was ruthless and incredibly effective. Soon, Wilde became one of the most powerful men in London's underworld. Not because he committed crimes personally, because he controlled the people who did. As his influence grew, Jonathan Wilde carefully crafted a public image. He presented himself as a defender of law and order, a man dedicated to protecting ordinary citizens. In 1718, he even adopted the grand title, the Thief-Taker General of Great Britain and Ireland. It sounded official, important, authoritative. In reality, it was largely self-created, but people believed it. His office became a destination for crime victims. Newspapers praised his successes. Stories spread about his ability to recover stolen property and track down criminals. Every successful recovery strengthened his reputation. Every arrest increased his influence. The public saw a crime fighter. The criminal underworld saw something else entirely: a king. Wilde's power came from more than deception. It came from fear. Every thief in London knew that Jonathan Wilde possessed information, names, locations, secrets. If someone crossed him, their future could end at the gallows. Many thieves worked for him not because they respected him, but because they feared him. He maintained control through blackmail, manipulation, and betrayal. And the system worked. For years, the rewards paid by the government for capturing criminals only made Wilde richer. When rewards increased, so did the value of the criminals he could deliver to authorities. The more crime existed, the more powerful Jonathan Wilde became. Then came Jack Sheppard. Unlike Wilde, Sheppard became famous among ordinary people. He was a burglar, a prison escape artist, and a folk hero. Again and again, authorities captured him. Again and again, he escaped. The public loved him. His story appeared everywhere. People admired his daring escapes. They cheered for him, and that created a problem. Because Jonathan Wilde desperately wanted him behind bars. The two men had crossed paths before. Sheppard had once operated within Wilde's world, but he refused to remain under Wilde's control. That made him dangerous. Not because he threatened Wilde physically, because he threatened Wilde's authority. Wilde became obsessed with capturing Sheppard. Time after time, Wilde helped authorities locate him. Time after time, Sheppard escaped. The pattern became almost unbelievable. Arrest, escape, capture, escape again. Each successful escape embarrassed the authorities, and by extension, it embarrassed Jonathan Wilde. The public increasingly viewed Sheppard as a symbol of resistance. Meanwhile, Wilde looked more and more like part of the establishment. A man who claimed to control crime, yet couldn't stop one burglar. Then things became even worse. In October 1724, one of Sheppard's associates, Joseph Blueskin Blake, was convicted after testimony linked to Wilde and his allies. Blake pleaded for help. Wilde refused. Moments later, Blake attacked him in court. The knife slashed Wilde's throat. Panic erupted. People screamed. Officials rushed forward. Wilde collapsed. Although he survived, the incident damaged more than his body. It damaged his image. For years, he had projected strength, control, authority. Now the public saw vulnerability. And while Wilde recovered from his injuries, his empire began to weaken. Public opinion was changing. People were becoming increasingly suspicious of powerful figures. Political scandals had already shaken confidence in authority. Wilde found himself caught in that changing mood. His enemies grew bolder. His allies grew nervous. His control over the criminal underworld began slipping away. And then came a fatal mistake. Wilde became involved in a violent jailbreak operation connected to one of his associates. Authorities took notice. The man who had spent years helping send others to prison suddenly found investigators looking closely at him. For the first time in years, Jonathan Wilde was the target. On February 15, 1725, Jonathan Wilde was arrested. The news spread rapidly. Many people could hardly believe it. The famous thief-taker general, a criminal? Some still defended him. Others suspected the truth immediately. Wilde was placed inside Newgate Prison. Ironically, the same institution that had helped launch his criminal career years earlier. At first, he likely believed he could survive the scandal. After all, he had escaped consequences before. But this time was different. Very different. Investigators began gathering evidence. Then something happened that Wilde could not control. Members of his own network started talking, one after another. Former associates revealed details about his operations, his schemes, his corruption, his betrayals. The wall of silence collapsed. The man who had built his empire on secrets was now drowning in them. Every witness made his position weaker. Every testimony exposed another layer of deception. The public finally learned the truth. The hero they had trusted had been manipulating them for years. Jonathan Wilde's final trial took place at the Old Bailey on May 15, 1725. Despite his vast criminal history, he was not convicted for running a criminal empire. Instead, he was convicted for theft involving stolen lace belonging to Catherine Statham. It was almost unbelievable. The man linked to years of corruption, brought down by a theft case. But history is often like that. Large criminal enterprises sometimes collapse because of a single, provable offense. The jury found him guilty. The sentence was immediate: death. Wilde was reportedly terrified. The confidence that had defined him disappeared. The master manipulator had run out of moves. As execution approached, Wilde's behavior changed dramatically. Accounts suggest he became overwhelmed with fear. The reality of death was no longer theoretical. It was approaching, fast. On the morning of his execution, he attempted suicide by taking a large quantity of laudanum. The attempt failed. Instead, he became severely ill and slipped into a weakened state. Soon afterward, he was transported to Tyburn, the place where so many others had met their end. Some of them because of him. May 24, 1725. The crowd was enormous. Observers described it as one of the largest gatherings anyone could remember. People traveled long distances just to witness the event. Tickets were reportedly sold for the best viewing locations. This wasn't simply an execution, it was a public spectacle, a reckoning. As Wilde approached the gallows, there was little sympathy. The cheers were loud, the excitement intense. Many saw justice being served. For years he had controlled the fate of others. Now he faced his own. Moments later, Jonathan Wilde was dead. The thief-taker general had become another man hanging from the gallows. Wilde's story did not end with his execution. His body was later exhumed and used for anatomical study. His remains eventually became part of a museum collection, but his greater legacy was cultural. Writers, journalists, novelists, playwrights, they couldn't stop talking about him. His life inspired books, plays, and political satire. People were fascinated by the contradiction. How could a man spend years convincing society he was fighting crime, while secretly helping create it? Even centuries later, the story remains relevant, because Jonathan Wild exposed something uncomfortable. Sometimes the people claiming to solve a problem are the very people benefiting from it. Sometimes authority can hide corruption, and sometimes the greatest deception is convincing everyone you're the hero. Jonathan Wild never became famous for violence alone. He became famous because he mastered manipulation. He built a criminal empire while wearing the mask of law enforcement. He gained power by controlling both criminals and victims, and for years, almost nobody saw through it. His rise was extraordinary, his deception was remarkable, and his fall was inevitable. In the end, the man who made a living delivering others to justice could not escape justice himself. Now we'd like to hear from you. Do you think Jonathan Wild was a criminal genius? Or was his success simply the result of a broken system that allowed corruption to flourish? Share your opinion in the comments below. If you enjoyed this documentary and want more real historical crime stories, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next case.